Good morning, everybody. I'm Joan McDonald, the Chair of the New York State Bridge Authority. It is Thursday, February 15th, 2024. I will call the roll to ensure we have a quorum. Maria Bruni.
Present.
Alex Berardi.
Present.
Lanny Gilbert.
Here.
Michael O'Brien.
Present.
And I am present. We have a quorum. And we have noticed the meeting pursuant to the public officers and public meetings laws of the state of New York. Do I have a motion to open the meeting?
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Lanny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Michael. All in favor of opening the meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The meeting is open. First up on our agenda is the public comment section. We have 3 people who have registered to speak. We keep the public comments are limited to 3 minutes each, which you have all been here. Many of you have been here before, and you know how we run it. First up is Claire Redden.
Hello again.
Welcome
Good
back.
morning.
Thank you. So I'm going to walk through your bridge suicide fencing issue and the history of it. So in 1987, Dr. Glatt did a study that was kind of groundbreaking on your Mid-Hudson Bridge. And it was basically looking at whether your suicide prevention efforts were effective. And you had great phones and you had great signage and people still died. And so in 1987, you knew that it wasn't sufficient. In 2002, the New York State Bridge Authority started tracking suicide incidences. And in 2007, as those numbers went up, you reached out to the National Suicide Prevention Crisis Line, 988, to ask for a recommendation on what to do. And they got back to you, they wrote a paper about it and said, you need fencing. And you subsequently didn't add fencing. So in 2017, as those numbers continued to go up, you and hadn't done anything about it. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline again wrote a follow-up paper saying, no, really, you need fencing. And you didn't add fencing. So in April 2022, Majeski and Masters came to your board meeting. They showed you 4 really nice fencing proposals. You asked great questions, you listened intently, and then you didn't do anything. And then in June 2022, a boy jumped off the Newburgh Bridge in front of me, and I became aware of your need for fencing and have continued to haunt you since. And jump forward a year, June 2023, I was at your board meeting talking to you about fencing and the dire need for fencing. And days later, Lorraine discovered the consequences of your lack of fencing. Every time you push this can down the road, people die. And you've known that your suicide prevention has been insufficient for 37 years. And specifically, you've known since 2007 that fencing is the solution. So you are the people that get to determine whether these people live or die. So fencing, we need fencing. Let's do fencing. I'd like to introduce you to Lorraine.
Thank you. Okay, your time is, you ended, so that I just want to make sure we go through the formal process. Next up is Lorraine Line.
Hi,
Am I
my
saying
name-
your last name correctly? Lean, okay.
It really is line, but we all know. So my name is Lorraine Lean. I'm here today to advocate for barriers on bridges. I lost my only child, Jake. He was 17 years old. He jumped off the Bear Mountain Bridge on 6/30/20. His girlfriend cheated on him. I thought going hiking would be helpful. I drove him to that bridge. I parked at Bear Mountain State Park to go hiking, and he ran. He did not have a history of depression. He had never been suicidal. He was a kid that was diagnosed with anxiety and depression, not depression, ADHD. My son was afraid of heights his entire life. He was a Boy Scout, and when he would go on trips, he never went on the zip lines and he never jumped off the cliffs with the other boys. After he ran from me, I assumed he would make his way back to me when he calmed down. Then 5 minutes later, I saw police cars with sirens going towards the bridge, and I thought, oh God, no. It's towards the bridge. And when I got to the bridge, I was thinking, no, please, no, 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 no. And then I saw the police, and I saw the bridge man standing, and the bridge guy was standing in front of me, and he was blocking my way, and I started begging him, I have to see, I have to see, I have to see. And the policeman who was standing next to me said, let her see. And then I saw him floating in the water. And then the boat came. I don't know how long this was. And the boat came, and then I stayed there looking at him until I pulled him out with a hook. And I fell to my knees, screaming, screaming, no, Jake, what did you do? What did you do? What did you do? A few weeks later, I tracked down the man who worked on the bridge, and he was kind enough to sit with me and talk to me, and I asked him to tell me everything that happened. And I know he climbed up that cable, and I know you're thinking of putting fencing there. That's not the answer. He would have jumped the other way. You need barriers on that bridge. I said to the man, my son just needed a minute. And he said, I just needed a minute. He said, I almost had him, Lorraine. I almost had him. If there had been a barrier on that bridge, my son would be alive. But he's not. He's dead. Because there's no barrier on that fucking bridge. I'm a widow. My life is over. And you guys know how to prevent this. 86% of the people who were stopped on bridges never try this again. As you know, there have been 0 deaths on the Mario Cuomo Bridge since they rebuilt it. 0. Approximately 10 to 20 people are directly impacted and permanently changed, carrying this horrendous, unrelenting pain and grief. 6 other people have died on your bridge, your bridges, since my son died. Allowing more deaths on this bridge is murder. Life and death, pain and suffering of those left behind are literally in your hand. I'm in 2 suicide survivors group, and a new person came in and asked the group by a show of hands, how many of us have contemplated suicide since the death of our loved ones? All of us have raised our hand. All of us have contemplated suicide after the death of our loved ones. All of us. And the added thing for teenagers is that teenagers who know kids who have committed suicide, they start contemplating suicide. My son's girlfriend is a mess. She's a mess. Her senior year is done. She's not going to school. I don't know if she's going to make it. Studies have shown that 10 to 20 people are impacted. The damage goes on for generations. One suicide costs the mental health of many people. You have a rare opportunity to make a real impact. Lives are in your hands. I'm begging you, please. This is what's left of my son. These are his ashes. This is my son. I'm begging you, don't do this to anybody else. Don't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I believe the next registered speaker is Maria Idoni, who is.
She is in the waiting room.
Okay, in the waiting room.
Joanne, you can let her in.
Good morning, Maria.
Oh, good morning. I'm sorry I didn't have sound on yet. Good morning. Thank you for having me speak this morning, for allowing me to speak. My name is Maria. I work for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I've been in suicide prevention in the Hudson Valley for about 16 years now. And I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. There is evidence that putting time and distance between an individual who is suicidal and the means to take their life, we know can be a life-saving action. Research has proven that. And that's why it's so important that we take steps when we know someone is struggling to help keep them safe. And during a period of high risk, the safer the environment is, the better the chance a suicidal person has of living through that crisis period. So what we are asking is to please help us create a safer environment for our community members. So 10, 12 people don't have to die each year on the bridges. You can create that safer environment by installing barriers. I'm a little choked up this morning about it because I was at a conference last month for AFSP, and being around so many people who have lost loved ones to suicide, especially on bridges, it's so frustrating when we have the power, you have the power to help us create the safer environment. So I beg of you, please try and find the money, put the money in the budget. If we could start with the bridge that has the most suicides first, that would be great. We're willing to help any way we can. So thank you for listening. Any questions for me?
I think we're good. We appreciate your input and your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Okay, next up on our agenda is we need to pause for a moment and go into the governance committee meeting. I'll start with the roll, myself, Alex Berardi, and Maria Bruni. We have a quorum to go into the governance committee meeting. Do I have a motion to open the committee meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Alex. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Maria. First up is the adoption of the minutes of the December 21st, 2023 Governance Committee meeting. Do you have any questions or comments?
No questions.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve and adopt those minutes?
I'll make a
Thank you,
motion.
Alex. Thank you, Maria. I'll call the vote. Maria Bruni.
Aye.
Alex Berardi.
Aye.
And I vote in the affirmative. The meeting minutes are approved. Next up is to review and authorize filing the annual confidential survey of commissioners regarding the board performance, which we will vote on here in governance. And then does the board vote on them as well? Or is it just the governance to transmit to governance committee to
Just the
transmit
governance
to the authority's budget office? I'm happy to report that everybody responded. Nobody put their name on the envelope, so that's all good.
Start.
And, we had some, Chris, do you want to give a quick update on what we received?
Yeah, so just a quick overview. There's 14 criteria that are measured. This is a standard survey template that the authority's budget office provides to boards at every authority. And I'm happy to report trends continue to go in a positive direction. All commissioners selected either agree or somewhat agree with all 14 criteria. No one selected disagree or somewhat disagree. In fact, this year there was unanimous agreement on 12 of the 14 criteria compared with 6 of the 14 criteria during the previous survey year. So we actually doubled that number over the previous year. As mentioned, it's a confidential survey, so I will dispose of the individual responses. And once the governance committee votes to send this to the ABO, I will send this over to them.
Okay, I appreciate that you show the prior year's results so that we can see what the trends are. Alex, Maria, questions? Comments?
Nice to see the trends.
Yeah. All right, do I have a motion to approve and adopt the board performance survey for 2023? Thank you, Maria. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alex. I'll call the vote. Maria Bruni.
Aye.
Alex Berardi.
Aye.
And I vote in the affirmative. The results are approved, and we will send the performance measures up to the authority's board office. Do we have any other business for the governance committee?
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion to leave the committee meeting?
So
Thank you, Maria. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you both so much. We will now go back to the paused, regular board meeting agenda. First up is the adoption of the meeting minutes of, January 18th, 2024. Any comments or questions from the board members? Okay, do I have a motion to approve and adopt the regular meeting minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Lanny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Maria. I'll call the vote. Maria Bruni.
Aye.
Alex Berardi.
Aye.
Lanny Gilbert.
Aye.
Michael O'Brien.
Aye.
And I vote in the affirmative. The meeting minutes are approved and adopted. Next up, Minoshka, we have our reports from the executive director.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. In relationship to internal affairs, we have concluded our negotiations with the board in December, with the CSEA leadership in December. We now have finalized the contract language and are moving forward with the negotiated terms of the new contract. Thank you to the staff, to the union reps, and to our legal counsel for working endlessly on this for the benefit of the agency. In strategic planning, we are very pleased to welcome the Director of Training at the New York State Office of General Services on January 25. She provided a workshop at the director level staff to undergo this assessment aimed at improving teamwork, communication, and productivity. We also kick off our strategic planning initiative with the help of the Thruway Center of Excellence, who is helping us articulate our organizational mission, vision, and values as a team. Our first session went very well, so we want to thank both the Thruway Authority as well as OGS for the cross-agency collaboration. As part of our labor management forum, we have committed to meet periodically to identify and discuss any issues that may come that are related to labor and management. We have met again, and we decided to conduct bi-weekly meetings at different facilities, so that way issues don't simmer, but we are able to tackle them as soon as they are raised. So our next scheduled meeting will take place at the Newburgh Beacon Bridge facility on February 26th, and right after, on March 4th, we have a meeting at the Mid-Hudson Bridge. In terms of personnel traveling, I have approved for Danielle Mas to be exactly today at the Museum of Jewish Heritage. She's part of the most significant infrastructure projects summit hosted by City and State. She's one of the panelists talking about transporting New York into the future. That panel focuses on innovative ways that we can create infrastructure projects and innovating the construction industry by cutting costs, minimizing delays, and improving outcomes. In terms of community, we met with Senator Hartham to discuss suicide prevention efforts. We updated the senator and our plans to do community involvement as part of the Bear Mountain Bridge redecking project, to hear from the community regarding suicide deterrent options for the Bear Mountain project. We also met with the DOT Region 8 Director Lance McMillan and Sandra Jobson to discuss potential collaboration with the public involvement phase of that project. Bear Mountain Centennial activities continue. We're very excited. We hope to be opening the B&B merchandising pop-up store again soon. We continue planning. We are now going to be unveiling different banners across all the bridges to let the whole Mid-Hudson community know of this significant milestone. And as part of the Centennial, we are also working with the NYSBA conference group to bring approximately 250 engineers to the Bear Mountain region, Bear Mountain Bridge region, to do to host this conference that happens every other year among all bridge, my gosh, all bridge world-class infrastructure projects. Some of the topics range from sustainability to dehumidification of cables, risk mitigation. And we are very excited. We're working with Kathy Burke from HVHB. She will be bringing STEM Day activities for local schools and BOCES into the conference. We also will have our first meet and greet event of MWBs and STBOBs on March 28th at Sunny Orange. We hope that a lot of people can participate. So far, we have approximately 194 business registered now and over 220 people registered for the event. We continue to work in our race grant application. We are submitting to the USDOT. We are interested in dehumidifying the cables at the Mid-Hudson Bridge. Commissioner Michael O'Brien has been helping us on that project. Thank you so much. Hudson River Skywalk Festival, we are working with our partners from the Rip Van Winkle Bridge, Olana, Thomas Cole, an organization called Create, as well as the Columbia Green Community in putting together this festival. We're also collaborating with them on another Bridges to Park hike event with the community. In terms of the walkway over the Hudson, we met with them. We meet quarterly with our partners from the walkway, the parks community, as well as NYSBA, to plan for events for the year and to, cross-collaborate on activities. They're also embarking on their strategic planning initiatives and invited us to participate. So thank you to Lori Robertson, their executive director, for inviting NYSBA to be part of their strategic planning committee. In terms of contracts, I have put forward 2 engineering contracts this month and 1 IT contract that will be presented by our directors. In terms of finance, we had 4.6 million vehicle crossings, 3,000 vehicles shorter than 2023. We believe that it had to do with the winter weather events that we had in January. Our total easy pass utilization was 1.9 million, close to 2 million, and 87.6% of them in January were related to easy pass, 1.8 through valid easy pass rates, and another 0.19 through license plate images identification. The traffic was composed of 93.2% passenger vehicles and another close to 7% commercial vehicles. That's wonderful. Then in terms of December revenue, we had 6.84 million, received to $6.84 million, of which 90% was easy pass, 2% tolls by mails, and 7% fines and fees, and another approximately 1% overweight fees. In terms of my activities for the month, I do not have anything to report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Manojka. Questions from the board members for Manojka on the report?
Yes, I mean, actually, it's not really a question for what's on the report, but a question of whether or not, after basically hearing what we heard and the couple comments, I appreciate obviously all the work we do, and I don't take any issue with the feelings and the horrible nature of Ms. Lean's experience and the loss of her son. Deeply regret. That said, I noticed we were talking about potential grant for the humidification project, and I think that's all very warranted, and I hope we're successful. I was just wondering if we've investigated the thought of grants that may be available for suicide prevention.
We have looked into grants that we can potentially go for. We have not yet identified one that the tolling authority could participate on. But when we spoke with Senator Harkin, he proposed that we could look into additional opportunities. One of the things that we did, thanks to the board, you guys approved 11 million towards suicide initiatives for the agency.
Mhm.
So one of the things that we did this month was we accelerated the design of the redecking project for, this was a project that was supposed to start in 2045. We are moving the design now because we want to look into potential alternative fencing for the Bear Mountain Bridge because we've seen an uptick in suicide.
Mhm.
And so we're moving in the direction. We're going to be working actually. I'm working now again with the Commissioner of Mental Health
From the state.
because we want to do another activity in relationship to mental health to our employees. It was very impacting to see Ms. Lynn's testimony. But these are some of the things that our personnel also deals when these events happen. So I'm interested in looking not only into how we get the workers, STBs, to do these, but for those of us that do operational things, we look at these activities over and over to analyze how we look it up. So I'm interested in creating initiatives for mental health for managers, because the managers, we're very good at worrying about the people that work for us, but we don't do much for ourselves. And I'm worried, like the people in command center, that day to day look at these events, how is it affecting the director, the managers of the thing? So that's one of the things that the commissioner and I are looking into.
So I think to close the loop on your
Mhm.
request,
Mhm.
that as you do the design for the redecking of the Bear Mountain Bridge, bring to the board options for fencing and barriers so that we can have that discussion. I believe that incorporating them into the actual projects as opposed would be a good way for us to start. And I know from my conversations with Senator Harkin that he would support doing that.
I just also wanted to say that I had the sense that we were proactive, but I also wanted to dispel any notion that this board is sitting on its hands and not addressing
absolutely.
these issues.
Very
Yeah.
important.
We all take this very, very serious.
Yes, thank you, Lanny.
I have a few questions. First of all, Maria cited 12 suicides this last year.
So I think I want to have a conversation with Kevin and Minoshka about whether we put something officially out to counter that.
Okay, thank you. And then can we include what we think the real cost of barriers would be?
No, because we're waiting to hear the design
Right, right.
information.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking very near term. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I had a question about the by mail is way down this month or last month. And I realized the ridership was down too, but then the fines and fees is now like 3x its normal. Any idea what happened?
No, I haven't, Brian and I haven't really talked about that.
We had to true up the bad debt reserve.
Thank you.
Okay, it was a year-end adjustment.
Thank you.
This is
Thank you,
not that-
Madam Chair.
Other questions, comments? Okay. Next up on our agenda is, we have nothing in administration, engineering and maintenance. Jeff, first up is our biennial bridge inspection service assignments.
Thank you, Madam Chair and all commissioners. Good morning. Bridge Authority advertised back in 2022 for the biennial bridge inspection services contract. We awarded that to three firms: Attain, Majeski and Masters, and CPM Smith. Each year, we ask them to give us a proposal for the cost to inspect the three bridges that they're going to do this year. We got those proposals in, we negotiated with them, and we came up with a not to exceed amount of $611,780.75. We'd like approval for.
Questions, comments from the board? Okay, do I have a motion to approve and adopt the biennial bridge inspection service assignment.
So moved.
Thank you, Michael. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Lanny. I'll call the vote. Maria Bruni. Aye. Alex Berardi,
Aye.
Lanny Gilbert,
Aye.
Michael O'Brien,
Aye.
and I vote in the affirmative. The resolution is approved and adopted. Next up, Mid Hudson Bridge East Approach Rehab. Jeff?
Yes, so in our capital plan, we have the design for the Mid Hudson Bridge East Approach Rehab for this year. We submitted a proposal, RFP out to the contract reporter. We received 36 firms interest. That included prime, subconsultants, MWBE, SDVOB firms. We actually received 3 completed proposals, of which GPI was determined to be the best qualified with a not to exceed cost of $535,000, which is like the board to approve. They do propose to meet the 30% and 6% goals for the MWBE and SDVOB goals respectively.
Okay, great. Questions, comments from the board?
What, and that local is, there's storage area, right? There's, I mean, when I run by there, there's garage doors, right? So that whole area is there any
East
plan to
approach-
just fill it in and?
Well, that's one possibility that we're gonna be looking into. The design firm will look at, there's bridges that are there, there's viaducts, there's all kinds of different structures, there's paving on grade, so they'll be looking at all those, the conditions of all those facilities and we'll get a proposal. We're looking to at least have a 50-year, life expectancy for the future.
It's a case study in multiple eras of planning colliding, yes. Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve and adopt?
So moved.
Thank you, Michael. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Lanny. I'll call the vote. Maria Bruni.
Aye.
Alex Berardi.
Aye.
Lanny Gilbert.
Aye.
Michael O'Brien.
Aye.
And I vote in the affirmative. The resolution is approved and adopted. Next up is Jobs in Progress Monthly Report. Jeff?
Yep, so all of the jobs have been shut down for the winter. 2 projects that will be moving forward here shortly, probably starting in March, will be the Bear Mountain Bridge repainting project for the towers. And also the steel repair project will continue at the walkway over the Hudson.
All right, questions, comments for the board? Do I have a motion to approve and adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Thank you, Michael. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Lanny. I'll call the vote. Maria Bruni.
Aye.
Alex Berardi.
Aye.
Lanny Gilbert.
Aye.
Michael O'Brien.
Aye.
And I vote in the affirmative. The resolution is approved and adopted. Jeff, you had another point of information for
Yeah.
the board members?
Just to let everybody know what's going on, we put out for proposals for construction inspection services. So we do this every other year for a 2-year span. We actually received 15 construction inspection proposals from various engineering firms. As we then develop projects and go out to bid for the construction, we'll also then shortlist these 15 to 3 or 4 to give us a cost proposal to do the CI for a project. So, where some firms may be well-versed with asphalt, construction and that, then we'll shortlist those type of firms for that kind of a project. Or if they're steel related, then we'll shortlist for them. So just to let you know, we've received 15.
Is that a higher number about what we get?
That's
every
about,
year?
we usually get between 12 and 15 firms that usually propose for that.
Good, great.
Yep.
Thank you. That's it for engineering and maintenance. Financial, Brian, our monthly investment.
Okay, thank you. There were 17 investments, all routine for the month of January. Those are reflected in the investment inventory. Currently, the maintenance reserve fund stands at a balance of $101,886,000. Turning to interest income and yield, yields increased slightly 0.2%, bringing the full year investment income to 4.7 million. It was a good year for investments.
Oh, Brian.
Yeah.
So in any case,
Yeah.
so nothing more to note unless there are questions.
No,
Finished the year with a bang there.
that's what we like that news.
Work on taking credit for that. Rightly or wrongly, just.
I wish I could take credit for market yields, but I can't. So
I always took credit for stuff.
Do I have a motion to approve and adopt?
So moved.
Thank you, Alex. Do I have a
Second.
second? Thank you, Michael. I'll call the vote. Maria Bruni,
Aye.
Alex Berardi,
Aye.
Lanny Gilbert,
Aye.
Michael O'Brien,
Aye.
and I vote in the affirmative. The resolution is approved and adopted. Next up, the annual payment to the Department of Civil Service.
very good. Section 11 of Civil Service Law allows the department to charge public authorities amongst other entities for their fractional share of the expenses for the administration of the department. For the year 2023, they bill at the end of the fiscal year. The invoice is $18,056.56. As noted in the table below, the number of staff this was applicable to dropped by one. You can see the trend as we switch to AET. The overall number of staff reduced. However, for this particular year, the rate per staff has increased. So that is why it increased year over year.
Questions, comments from the board? Right, do I have a motion to approve and adopt the resolution?
So
Thank you, Maria. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Lanny. I'll call the vote. Maria Bruni,
aye.
Alex Berardi,
Aye.
Lanny Gilbert,
Aye.
Michael O'Brien,
Aye.
and I vote in the affirmative. The resolution is approved and adopted. Next up, Francine, IT consultant renewal.
Good morning. In March of 2022, the board approved a 3-year contract with 2 additional 1-year extensions to CAPS Traffic Com. This contract provides intelligent transportation systems engineering services to the Bridge Authority to assist with its current and future ITS programs and consulting, preventative maintenance, and system integration. We would like to ask for you to approve exercising the second and last of its 2 1-year extensions contained within the original contract.
Okay, questions, comments from the board?
So you have to go out to bid again next year.
Next year, yeah.
Do I have a motion to approve and adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Thank you, Michael. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Maria. I'll call the vote. Maria Bruni,
Aye.
Alex Berardi,
Aye.
Lanny Gilbert,
Aye.
Michael O'Brien.
Aye.
And I vote in the affirmative. The resolution is approved and adopted. We have no bridge operations per se, but we have command center. And Frank, are you presenting this?
I am.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Transcom annual member operations support.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Transcom is a coalition of 15 transportation and public safety agencies in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut metropolitan area, created to provide a cooperative, coordinated approach to regional transportation management. The authority annual contribution this year has increased $3,611 from last year. The invoice for the authority's 2024 member operations support to Transcom is $82,665. This membership allocation is allocated in the authority's 2024 operations budget.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments? Noska as chair, are we paying our?
We are paying our fair.
Okay, as long as it's not unfair. All right, do I have a motion to approve and adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Alex. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Michael. I'll call the vote. Maria Bruni,
Aye.
Alex Berardi,
Aye.
Ann Gilbert,
Aye.
Michael O'Brien,
Aye.
and I vote in the affirmative. The resolution is approved and adopted.
By the way, will they defend us if we don't pay off that share? Sorry.
They could come after us.
Too
but
soon.
of course, we don't know. Next up, we have a presentation to the board, Ron Kamen from Earthkind. Ron?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Doctor, morning, everybody. How are you?
Good.
Morning.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. Sorry.
You want this stuff.
May I? Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. So, you may recall that the Executive Order 22 and all the New York Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act makes us do certain things, all state agencies, et cetera. So this specifically is to fulfill the leading by example, directing state agencies to adopt a sustainability and decarbonization plan for your building. So the agenda today is summary of the executive order, Bill Smart 2025, your existing energy usage, the energy conservation measures that were recommended in the report and others, heat pumps in general, the heat bath and HVAC conversions and electricity totals, what does that mean? Incentives that are out there, and a conclusion. So, really quick. In terms of EO 22, first you have to assign this for you to serve as sustainability coordinator. Of course, you guys did that. You created a sustainability team in-house. Very good. You submitted annual survey reports to the New York Green Council of New York, and detailing your progress on achieving the directed targets and goals. Excellent. Effectiveness and usage of the procurement specifications. Outstanding. Efforts to advance environmental justice included. The specific sustainability and energy efficiency projects that have been implemented and their effectiveness, absolutely. And then entering data into NYSBA's New York Energy Management System. Done all that. So all the process stuff, you guys, as always, are right on top of it. Do it right. Okay, so the guidelines. So you have to do, according to the guidelines, any capital project, an energy efficiency or energy conservation measure, or a combination of measures that do cost effective. Cost effective is identified as a simple payback of 10 years or less. We'll talk about those in a few. You must complete or make substantial progress on those capital projects by next year. You're ahead of the curve again. And all lighting, LEDs, must be retrofitted to LEDs and have et cetera, by next year as well. Once again, you're ahead of the curve, doing great. So we'll talk about exactly what do you have to do to make this, but to give you a sense of the CLCPA, the Climate Act statewide goals, 2030, 70% clean electricity, 40% reduction in greenhouse gases, 2040, 100% clean electricity, 2050, statewide, 85% reduction in greenhouse gases. However, state agencies under EO 22 and Bill Smart are leading by examples, which means that you're going to be out front of the curve doing all this, and specifically starting in 2024, as of last month, January 1st, all new construction shall avoid fossil fuel infrastructure. So basically, you don't invest in new boilers, et cetera. You get clean electric-driven systems. You have to statewide, the state agencies are reducing 11 trillion BTUs in state buildings. That's 34% of all the energy consumed by state entities. And the key thing here is 2030, 100% clean electricity. So 10 years ahead of the state's statewide goals for all agencies and authorities to lead by examples. And there's a way of doing that. The first counting out clean energy generated by your utility, which we'll talk about that a little bit. Then you get on or off-site clean energy dedicated specifically to your operations. And last but not least, purchasing renewable energy credits. We'll talk about that today as well. All right, so when we take a look at your electricity consumption, we see that in 2015, we're at 2.8 million kilowatt hours. You drop that down to 2.1 million, mostly through your LED conversions. So by converting everything to light emitting diodes, street lights, as well as your offices, et cetera. There are other ways that we did this. That was usage reduction there. Then the solar field that we did up at the Rhinecliff Bridge, Kingston Rhinecliff Bridge, results in another reduction of about 268,000 kilowatt hours. So congratulations, first 35%, beating the state goals already. So you guys are doing great. All right, so then we looked at all the different buildings, identified the conditions, square feet, that's the ones that are heated and cooled. And you guys have about 111,000 square feet worth of space, significant. And then the audit looks at, okay, well, where's all that energy being consumed every building? And what we find is that electricity at 2.1 million kilowatt hours, we had on the normalized weather, natural gas about 7,425 MMBTUs. I'll talk about that in a second. 7792 from oil. So what that means is you can convert energy from electricity to BTUs or million BTUs, MMBTUs back and forth. So when you take a look at it and you break down into MMBTUs, as the report does, you see it's kind of split pretty evenly, right? A third, a third, a third, which is kind of what it is for a society. We have a third, a third, a third coming from our various different energy sources. So oil, electric, natural gas, all together, you guys are emitting about 1,177 metric tons of carbon per year. The report breaks down every bridge. You can take a look at every bridge operation by their energy consumption, each piece, how it works, how much oil, gas, electricity is done for each of the different bridges. And in the report, it identifies all this. If you want to drill into any particular bridge, you can take a look, see what it does.
Is there any significant difference with one?
Yeah, some have oil. Oil's always bad. So some, the ones that have gas are doing a little bit better. Each one, pretty much you guys are doing stuff across the board. So they're pretty consistent in terms of where you are efficiency wise. We're going to talk about what the impacts are system wide in a sec.
They vary because some bridges don't have gas available.
No lines, yeah.
Right, great question. All right, so then we take a look at the energy conservation measures identified in the report. And what you find is that, oh yeah, the LED lighting, you guys are already just about done with that. So one of the reports started out before you were so far into it. Basically, you're just about done with all your LED lighting. Similarly, you're starting to do insulation, where insulation makes sense. That's one of the measures that were recommended. And then we take a look and there are all these different measures. The R is recommended, right? So that means that they have less than 10-year payback. And when you take a look, basically it's control upgrades, some temperature systems, some insulation, some infiltration reductions, doing a little bit of filters with your furnace, moving unused appliances, and you total all up, it's about $27,000 worth of stuff that you need to do to meet the state requirements by next year. So not a lot, it's pretty much you guys again, ahead of the curve. All right, now we took a look at all your heating equipment, right? Took a look at all your heating equipment, took a look at all your hot water equipment, all the ones that are burning fossil fuels, took a look at all your fueling equipment, which also has some amount of electricity, which has fossil fuels into it. And what you find is that to reach the state goals, get that 85% reduction, you're going to need to convert all your thermal energy, anything that's burning gas or oil, to clean electricity, and then have a clean electric supply, that electricity, so that you can eliminate the greenhouse gases. So that's where we need to go. And when you take a look, the main way to do that is with heat pumps. We're all familiar, believe it or not, with heat pumps. A refrigerator is a heat pump. An air conditioner is a heat pump, both central and windows. And a heat pump is basically just a two-way air conditioner. So instead of just compression and expanding a gas that gives you cool in the summer, it also does switch that in the winter and takes heat out of the air and delivers heat into your building and you'll press it. So a heat pump is the main technology that moves everything over. We'll talk about that in a little while. And just to give you a sense, heat pumps are now selling gas furnaces. This is not new technology. Everyone's pretty familiar with it. It's coming faster and faster. All right, but the best heat pump, just for you guys, is geothermal. And the reason for that is because geothermal takes the heat under our feet, basically that energy that's absorbed for billions of years that keeps that temperature 50 degrees under our feet. You send the fluid down into the earth under the frost line, you bring that fluid back, it's now at 50 degrees. So that's a good thing to take a look at. And just to give you a sense, it's the most efficient heating and cooling system. Air source heat pumps, every unit of electricity put in, you get 2 to 3 units of energy out. Ground source with geothermal heat pumps, every unit of electricity you get in, again, you can convert that to BTUs. So 1 kilowatt gives you 3,400 BTUs. Or 1 kilowatt going into a geothermal system gives you 17,000 BTUs out. This is where the energy from the earth. Okay. All right. So geothermal, this is my favorite. I'm sorry. Everybody knows what this building is?
Yes.
This little historical building in New York City, right? Yeah. Where they drilled 2,000 feet into the bedrock in Manhattan on the St. Patrick's Cathedral for geothermal. It was the least cost capital project. It was 40% less space than conventional HVAC and 30% annual energy saving. So St. Patrick's could do it. Everybody. I just have to figure out how to make the economics work. All right, so when we took a look at this, so heat pumps, the study identified what would it take, specifically identified different heat pumps, and on the average, to convert each boiler, it was about a little under $120,000. You take a look for all the boilers you got over the next number of years, and again, we planned this out to 2040 because we think just as the state sped up the timeline on statewide activity for electricity, clean electricity, we think they're going to probably do the same within this next year. Thermal changes as well. So we looked at 2040 replacement schedule. And we took a look, and basically they have a great job identifying each boiler, where we think we can replace them by 2040, add it up, put in some cost increases and came up with. All right, so taking a look at energy cost. You guys, over the last number of years, electricity costs have dropped to $246,000, natural gas 93, oil down to 20,000, total $361,000 worth of annual energy expenses as of 2022. That was a decrease, because you guys have been doing so well from 2018 between the tolls, taking out the tolls, the needs efficiency stuff, all the other efficiency measures. You guys have been on track to reduce your energy costs. So what does it mean when we go to clean electric here?
Can we go back to the?
Sure.
Why the increase in oil?
And oil prices.
Oil price, okay.
Market, yeah.
No, and so no consumption at all. Thank you.
It was just not necessary. Great question. And there's a report for you.
You're gonna get,
You're gonna get all of it, yeah.
All the more reason to get off of it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. It's volatile, right? Fossil fuel costs are volatile. They're up, they're down, where it's gonna be generally, they increase over time. All right, so we took a look at electricity, gas, oil, and we transferred all that with oil, little coils, right? They're just resistance coil heaters, right? Everybody's familiar with them, there's a little one, right? So that's a one to one kind of change. We wind up needing, you guys would need 6.5 million kilowatt hours worth of energy, electricity to supply your thermal and other loads. By going to an air source heat pump, though, because this is twice as efficient as the thermal sources, you're down to 3.2 million kilowatt hours that you're gonna need when you do the transition. And if you decided to go to geothermal, that would drop even further. So when you total it up for 100% clean energy, you need 3.2 million or so with air source heat pumps, 2.5 million with geothermal. Add in, don't forget you're doing the jet transition, so we've got 300,000 more kilowatt hours we've got to do for that. So all total about 3.5 million kilowatt hours, or potentially less if you decided to look at the geothermal. So what does the state say? How do you look at this? When you first count the amount of clean energy generated by the eligible systems that are paid for it, it's electricity bills. And did you know that the state keeps track of that? And in particular, something called the environmental disclosure system gives a label for every utility generator, identifies where the energy for that electricity is coming from, how much oil, coal, gas, whatever. And the Central Hudson Clean Energy Mix is hydro 8%, solar 3%, wind 1%, for a total of about 12% of your electricity is currently coming from emission. Okay. All right, for the remainder of the usage, on-site or off-site energy dedicated to operation. So if you look at 3.5 million kilowatt hours, it's about the output of an almost 3 megawatt solar farm. If we looked at a market price about 12 to 15 cents per kilowatt hour, you could kind of fix your cost a bit, which would be good. But that's going to increase your total annual energy cost to $400,000 to $500,000 if you had a deal with a solar farm to be able to lock your cost for the next 20 years. But you would need to negotiate the inclusion of the environmental value. So what happens is you have a solar farm, it's putting electricity into the grid. There's a stack of values, where you are, the time of day, how much energy is being used, plus there's an environmental factor. If you don't negotiate for that environmental factor, you cannot include the solar electricity as reducing your electric consumption. It doesn't count under the state system as a clean energy source unless you get that heat factor. Hopefully the state's going to come out with a statewide purchasing plan so people can access that E value otherwise, but if they don't, which is possible, or if you try to do that yourself without the E value, to get the E value, you're too small to really be able to negotiate that kind of deal, but we can talk about that. All right, so the other portion is purchase renewable energy credits. The renewable energy credit is the amount of energy from a megawatt hour, 1,000 kilowatt hours, goes into the grid, it's clean, there's a whole accounting system to get stuff set up, there's a piece of paper that gets attached to it, just like a piece of stock. That's a renewable energy credit. You guys, 3.5 million kilowatt hours would be 3,500 RECs. This is the state's renewable energy standard, how it goes. These are the prices under the compliance, which basically sets the cap of the price. The average price in 2023 was $31 per megawatt hour. So for your RECs, you would need to pay an additional $113,000 per year as of 2023 prices for the renewable energy credits, the zero out. Another option, and this is one I urge you guys to think about and take immediate steps on, is to do a community solar and potentially purchase the RECs. Sign a 10-year agreement, be part of a community solar farm, you get a piece of that output allocated to your usage. You get a 10% cost reduction by doing that. That's the way this current system is set up. So you can get 30 to 40 grand of savings, 35, and said, okay, well, then your extra cost for the RECs, if you did a community solar farm, you'd be down to about $80,000 net for the RECs. One way or another, it makes sense probably to do. And then last, but definitely not least, put solar on the bridges, right? So this was a rendering of looking at the Newburgh Beacon Bridge with solar on the bridge. This way, the great thing about that is it's state, national, international recognition. I believe you'd be the first one in the country to get it. There's other bridges that have it around the world, but you'd be the first in the country. Scalable model for replication. You'd be 100% zero carbon for your electricity, heating, transportation. You demonstrate blue and white common job creation, and you got the clear process, of course, with the associated. Lots of incentives out there right now, and if you don't do it sooner than later, the incentives are disappearing. There's incentives for custom, there's incentives for air source, there's incentives for geothermal from the state, electric hot water heat pumps, and then there's the federal piece, 30 to 50% solar and geothermal tax credits that you guys can get as an electric paid grant at the file of the process. And of course, the value of carbon. So if you look at all this stuff, what does it mean? Well, your reduction of 1177 metric tons per year means that you're down, that value is now $144,000 a year. The way the state calculates that value. So conclusion. You've already achieved 34% reduction in your electricity. Congratulations, that's so far. One, complete the LED lighting conversions as was scheduled to do this year. Implement the $27,000 with low-hanging energy conservation measures by next year. You're ready to track to do that. Evaluate geothermal HVAC options, which is the highest efficiency. It's going to have a big cost, but you'll have a payback on it. Convert your boilers and air conditioning systems to heat pumps. We're saying probably it's going to be 2040. We'll know that date for sure within the next year. This is supposed to tell us by 2025. Determine the path to reach 100% clean electricity heating by 2030. Cost reduction with community solar. Track the utility renewable percentages every year. They're going up. Contract with a solar farm for power and renewable energy credits, or purchase the RECs, or build solar. Yes, sir.
Would we, when it comes to community solar, would it have to be like 5 different community solar farms? Or
I mean, you know, you guys, I mean, it's possible there could be 5 different ones, or if you want. But it have to be like, you know, you guys need 3 megawatts worth of solar. Someplace.
collectively across the bridge?
Exactly.
So the question is, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Who's leading the project in-house?
Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah,
We put our best guy.
so we're, you know, we have the engineering maintenance is in charge of the buildings and all that, so, you know, that's where we came up with the schedule of boiler replacements and all that kind of stuff based on their age and, what makes the most sense at this point in time.
Started with oil and worked your way back.
Are you in conversations with NYSBA about potential incentives?
Yeah, and we want to have more of those too. So, in particular, if you guys decide to do something innovative with solar on the bridge, you know, I think that there'd be a number of different innovative grants that we could access. And I think, Dr. Campano came up with the idea of a pilot project, actually. So you guys should discuss that and think about maybe do that.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yep.
Other questions, Brooke?
A lot of moving pieces.
Yeah, a lot of,
Yeah.
sorry, it's real, and it's
No,
crazy.
no,
you know,
it's
it's
not.
like,
You
it's
still done very well.
You did a great job.
Yeah.
Showing
Is that okay?
And if this ever goes south on the TV weather,
On that note.
I know there's some, I know there's some new technology with utilizing pavement for.
Yeah, it's an
Is that
interesting thing. Yeah, there is, there's a few different technologies that are like really coming.
And
along.
charging.
So there's one for charging,
No,
there's one for, putting solar, as the roadway. I think, you know, it's conceivable to potentially think you test that. I don't think it's ready for prime time yet, but there's stuff going on in Chicago, actually, with electric vehicle charging stations. Of course, about, I think it's a mile or so span where they have inductive charging, right? So inductive charging is where you just come up and it just.
Fix an awful lot.
It's wireless, but then.
It would fix a lot
It's
of
an
what,
interesting
of what they're
option,
having
right?
trouble moving over.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting option, right? So there's a lot of things that we could strive to do some innovative pilot projects. Obviously, we need some grant funding, but you know, definitely it's a really great point. So, there's also, solar roadways, which are kind of cool to think about, right? Again, not quite ready for prime time, but maybe something to think about. There's even one of the things that we looked at a little bit last year, but I think might be worth giving this morning's conversation is solar as a suicide fence. See-through solar as a wall. It wasn't cost effective when Jeff looked, and I looked at it last year, but there are some things that are changing, and given where you guys are, it might be something to take a look at.
Excellent.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have no old business or new business. We do have, an item for discussion, an executive session, that is attorney-client privilege, potential litigation. So at this point, I would like the board members to stay. Minosha, Brian, Kevin, and Jeff Weiss. Everybody else, please leave. And we have to turn the
Yes.
computer on.
Jeff, is your permission for the executive session?
We would come back on to Adam.
We do have to come back on at the end. Or,
Yes,
yes, we do.
but we don't have to bring everybody back in.
Right.
We can end.
Voting?
We do have to
The New York State Bridge Authority has come out of executive session at 11:21. Do any of the commissioners have any additional items for discussion at today's board meeting? Okay, our next scheduled meeting is March 21st, which is our regular meeting at 9:30 a.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn today's meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Lanny. Do I have a second? Thank you, Michael. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Stay warm and